Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are talking about the spell Contingency.
Is
Uh,
it a spell, or is this just a sneaky secret wizard feature that's really
well,
busted?
here we go.
Contingency is a sixth level evocation spell. I'm just gonna read it first. Let's
Yeah,
just
go ahead, go
let's
ahead.
get this text out of the way. 10-minute cast time. So you can't cast this like willy-nilly. You have to have time to sit down and do it. Range of self, verbal somatic material component. It requires a statuette of yourself carved from ivory and decorated with gems worth at least 1,500 gold pieces. Notably, the spell doesn't consume it. Duration of 10 days, which is a really long duration. Choose a spell of 5th level or lower that you can cast that has a casting time of an action and can target you. You cast the spell called the Contingent spell as part of casting Contingency, expending spell slots for both, but the Contingent spell doesn't come into effect. Instead, it takes effect when a circumstance occurs. You describe the circumstance when you cast the two spells. For example, a Contingency cast with water breathing might stipulate the water breathing comes into effect if you are engulfed in water or a similar liquid. The contingent spell takes effect immediately after the circumstances is met for the first time, whether you want it to or not, and then the contingency ends. The contingent spell takes effect only on you, even if it can normally target others. You can only use one contingency spell at a time. If you cast a spell again, the effect of another contingency spell ends on you. Also, contingency ends on you if its material component is ever not on your person. All of that might sound above board. It might sound very fair to be like, well, I'm trading an A6 level spell slot so I can just have readied a 5th level or lower spell so the target's only me. How could that possibly be that good? The reason Contingency is really, really powerful, the reason that Contingency is more of a class feature than everything else, is the real common use case for it is the Contingency trigger being whatever you want it to be means. You can stick greater invisibility on this. You can stick protection from energy on this. You can stick whatever spell, haste if you want it, whatever single target spell you'd like. You can say, that's my contingency. I'm doing this with my 6th and 5th level slot before the next long rest. And then next day, you've spent no resources on it. You just have a free extra cast of whatever the contingent spell was by simply saying the words.
Yeah.
That is why contingency is really, really good. It's just often going to feel like a free extra spell, which doesn't leave this feeling very much like a spell in my mind. This makes contingency feel very much like a way that you can just have in your back pocket whatever spell that can only target you once as you'd like. And if it was pitched as that, if it was a wizard feature that was like you get your contingent spell and once per long rest you pick a lower first level spell or lower, and you get a free cast of it or whatever. Fine, but it being disguised as a spell, I think is sneaky. I think wizards don't need to be better than they already are anyway. Contingency just contributes to a lot more of wizards having really powerful fun things without it really costing them anything to do.
All right. So a couple of questions. First, are there? I mean, this is a 6th level spell. Are there any kind of subclasses or feats or anything that allows other classes other than wizards to get this?
Bards through magical secrets, I believe,
Okay.
but I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to double check. Beyond that, I don't believe so.
All right. Well, that's an argument for wizards. Other question. Now, when we're talking about glyph of warding, if you have a concentration spell as part of the glyph, that just you don't require concentration. It just lasts the full duration. That's not the case here, correct?
I don't believe so. I believe it's still so. Oh god, this is why contingency is always a nightmare to talk about, is because the rulings for it are really wonky. You cast a spell called the contingent spell as part of the casting contingency explains spell slots, but the contingent spell doesn't come into effect. Yeah, so but you will concentrate on it when it comes into effect, I believe. I believe you still have to concentrate on the contingent spell. I could be wrong. If you don't have to concentrate on this, it's even more cracked than it already is. But I'm pretty
Yeah, I
sure
was thinking, how much fun would it be
concentrate on great invisibility and stuff.
to have a glyph of warding and a contingency going and a third concentration spell happening at the
Yeah,
same time?
You can definitely do the glyph of warding greater invisibility, and then you just or just glyph of warding regular invisibility even, right? And then you just trigger it, you're invisible, you don't have to concentrate on it, that you've got your contingency effect ready to go, you got your other spells and other concentration effects that can be happening before you touch the ward. You can do some cool stuff with glyph of warding in that instance, and you can stack them so you can have some cool effects on you still. Like Fire Shield doesn't take your concentration, for example. So you contingency to get your fire Fire Shield on while invisible without breaking invisibility because you're not casting the spell then, you're just activating the spell then, which is neat, I think. Again, I think that's
No,
how
I
it
was talking about tripling down on concentration spells.
Yeah.
So then you could cast a Fire Shield on top of that.
If only I could have 4 of these effects on me instead of 3. Ah, woe is me. It's so hard being a wizard.
First world problems.
It's true. I think you can probably play with contingency and have some fun with it. I think a lot of people are going to play it very fairly, where they're going to make, like, I have a contingency in case we go underwater and I cast water breathing. I'm going to level with you. If that's your use of contingency, Godspeed. Have fun. I don't think that's very good. I don't think you should waste 6th level spell slot on that ever. If you ever cast a contingency after a long rest, you're doing it wrong. It's not worth it ever casting it after a long rest, because you can just cast the spell when you need the spell to be cast. There's not going to be a lot of instances where you're going to be in like null magic zones that you can't activate the magic effect that won't also affect the contingency anyway. So you really don't want to. Using contingency fairly tends to be quite bad. There's like some niche use cases where, like, okay, having access to invisibility instantaneously is handy. I don't know why it's better than spending your action casting invisibility most of the time, though. So it's like, I got hit and now I'm invisible, I guess.
All right, what about,
I got hit in my dimension door? Sure.
Yeah, well, what about instances where you I don't know what the spell would be, but you take a sudden, unexpected, severe amount of damage that would kill you, or incapacitate you in some way, so you couldn't cast the spell you needed to get safely out of there. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. My question is, I don't know if you instantaneously die. I don't think that can. I would argue that can't be a trigger, because I would argue you need to be alive for the contingency effective habits be effective, do something, because it takes effect when certain circumstances occur. Okay, never mind. I think I'm just wrong. I think it is just, if you can say if I drop to 0, the contingency occurs.
Yeah.
I guess, sure. And in that instance, it becomes hard, right? Because with things like Dimension Door, you have to pick where you're going. So some spells just wouldn't work with it then. So like Misty Step, for example, you could normally pair this because it has you doing the move. And can target, that can target you. I don't even know if oh god, there's so many rules questions that I have with this. It definitely could be used in a way to say, okay, I'm about to die. I'd like to not be about to die, and then you use that way. I think Dispel Magic's a really easy one to say. If I fail a saving throw against a mind-altering or a magically conditional effect, I cast Dispel Magic on myself to get rid of it. That seems like a really great, probably one of the better use cases of fair contingency, is to say I just have a Dispel Magic at the ready in case my counterspell doesn't work or something. Because you have to remember, this is in the class that has counterspell, so you have mitigation ways and a whole bunch of other ways to do it. But maybe you also want the Dispel Magic one for other magical effects and stuff, right?
So I feel like this is how the spell was intended to be used.
I agree.
But the reality is that it didn't take long for someone to figure out the contingency is I could just say oogla boogla and
it happens.
Right.
And speaking doesn't even cost you your action, which is pretty baller. So you can be like, I action fireball, I say oogla boogla, I'm invisible now. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Contingency. Like, in the fair use cases of it, you're still getting extra resources for nothing. So I still don't love that. If you're not casting this after a long rest, but before a long rest, if that's ever the window you're casting contingency, it's ridiculously good. It's a free resource for a spell you already have prepared. That's nuts. You already liked whatever the earlier spell was. You getting a free use of it because you didn't use your 6th level spell last rest is exceptional. And it only costs you a slot prepared. That's not a tall order by the time you get 6th level spell slots. So, like, the floor of contingency, even if we decide to use it fairly, even when we say your contingency can't be, I utter this phrase, if we even have it be something where you want an outcome of the world to affect you in a way that is uncontrollable, it's still a free spell cast that's really, really busted. And it's not, again, it doesn't, my big problem with it is that the 6th level spell slot doesn't really apply whenever you don't need to spend the 6th level spell slot actually in adventuring on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately why I land with I have such a bad time and a problem with contingency existing. Because if you had to spend a 6th level spell slot on this is useless. This is not worth the spell slot. You don't want to waste a 6th level spell slot to get a cheaper cast of 5th level or lower spell that only targets you. Those conditions are very, very, very niche. There might be a small window where you come up with some really grander, larger than life plan where you're gonna right as I'm attacked, fire shield pops up on me. That goozles somebody for like 2d6 damage. That's feel like a 6th level bad reaction version of fire shield, and you don't need that. You don't really want that. But whenever you do it for free, whenever you didn't spend a spell slot on it, and you have a free reaction based use of fire shield, all of a sudden it looks quite a bit better. Even if that's not the best, most cracked, busted use case for it, it's still really good. Contingency's fun. It's powerful. I hate it.
Well, for all those reasons, I love it.
Yeah, I understand that. I definitely get that I'm in the minority as far as liking contingency goes.
Yeah, when we talked about this on
Best
on one of our you're right. And yeah, when you're saying you hated it, I said, shit, did I miss something? What have I got wrong about the spell? What could possibly be to be hate about it? And no, you just hate it because it's too good.
It's really, really powerful.
Yeah, man,
I don't know.
I should have prepared more for this video because there are the good practical uses, and then there are the stupid things that I usually come up with. But I've got nothing right now.
I gotta say, like, I think the vast majority of tables, this is not gonna be a problem spell. The vast majority of tables, contingency is going to be in the hands of someone like you, Bob, and they're gonna have a really fun time doing some dumb, stupid nonsense with I cast for whenever my inevitable flirting fails with the barmaid, I'm going to cast Disguise Self on myself to look handsome as hell. Like, there's gonna be some really dumb use cases for contingency that are going to be very fun. I think the spell can lead to some decisions that are made that make the spell actively harmful, where you're like, oh god, I wasn't ready for this to happen right now, and the DM found a way to make it happen right now, and all of a sudden I'm disguised self in the middle of the goblins looking like a horrific stereotype. Then you have, like, you get yourself into positions where you're instigating where you don't necessarily mean to. You have a lot of hijinks and fun that can be happening alongside of it. I can see that being an average use case for it, where contingency is a get out of jail free card every once in a while for the wizard. It doesn't add that much power to them, but it doesn't do any. It doesn't deliver on the fantasy in the way that I think is fun, and I think the use and abuse case for it is going to be very quickly like, well, I can just use it if we're playing with contingency anyway. Why don't I just use it to do it whenever I want to do it, and I can do the cool thing whenever I want to do the cool thing. I think that's what it'll often default to after the first couple of fair uses, and it's still not wildly problematic. It's a functionally extra 5th level spell slot. It's very good, but it's not like changing the game on a fundamental axis. It's just more than it needed. Wizards doesn't need this already. Other classes already have a difficult time keeping up with what they're doing. Contingency doesn't need to exist. Not in this form, at least, in my opinion. And I get that I'm not in the popular opinion of that.
Maybe if it was like, exclusive to sorcerer instead of wizard or something. Like, because like you said, wizard's already too powerful.
Yeah, sorcerer could use a little bit, comparatively, could use a little bit of love against wizard because they get like 6 spells. And making them want, like, contingency being a sorcerer spell does make it like, oh, that's a much more real cost. This is one of my few known spells. That's a real cost for sorcerers, that it's not really a real cost for wizards.
Oh well, it is what it is, and
I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. I hope all you out there that like the spell have fun with it. I would encourage people to play spells they have fun with, and that the table has fun with. I think the spell can fit that bill. It just makes me angry and bitter.
But there's such a wealth of things you can do with this. There's there's the abuse that Sam was talking about. You say oogla boogla, you got free spell, fun. But
and listen, that is fun. The free spell is fun. I'm not going to say it's not, but continue.
But viewers, I would like to hear your comments on some of the more interesting, creative, and fun ways you've used contingency spell.
Agreed. I would love to see. I think contingency probably has a lot of really fun stories behind it. I'd love to see those kinds of stories because, again, I think contingency is also often at its most fun when things go horribly wrong. And it definitely lends itself to be one of those kinds of spells. It's a 5 out of 5. I think contingency is a free resource that wizards don't need. And whenever it's played fairly, it's quite a bit worse. Again, if you're ever spending a 6th level spells on this, it's like it's probably like a 2, if that. But whenever it doesn't cost you anything, it's bonkers good.
5 out of 5, agreed. All right, well, that was Contingency. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.